This is Gerald, who I'm was an educational channel of demonstrations regarding the explanations of letters, how they direct you into an adaptation where you need to change direction. Each letter has its own level of complexity, and there are three regions that I explained in the last couple of videos. This will be the last one of the series of the theory, and there were actually three levels of complexity in the letters, and all the letters fit into that structure of complexity. And I will explain you last time these three regions and how you calculate actually also differently in these regions. The first region is compared to the materialistic world, the three-dimensional world, where you place the objects and where you form the objects. Very simple perspective, and there you can describe its position, there you can describe its form. With these letters that fit with this perspective, you can do all that. But they are very dependent on change, and there's not much you can do about it. There's no adaptations towards change, so it's very quickly out of balance, and it can be broken down into pieces if you don't be careful very much. So you need some other suggestions to adapt to changes, changes of the environment, of confrontations and so on. If you focus solely on objects on the three-dimensional world, it is very quickly out of balance, because there's only one form of balance, which is your own forming process. In the world's perspective, where you have communication with other perspectives, it quickly comes to a practical solution that we seek the balance itself, the balancing point between two people within communications. When you are quickly out of balance, it's better to look for what keeps the balance between two visions, between two perspectives and so on. It's looking for a cooperation for everything that is changing. There is a way to try to find that balance, and what you need in this perspective is actually time and movement. You want to have the ability to change your position in that way that you don't fall, that it don't break apart, so that you will adapt quickly enough so that you will keep your balance. So this is a second perspective that is added, and this second perspective is added because of time, because you get some time to do so. You have an idea where to do so, in which phase you can change it, and so on. So you have a couple of ideas and letters that fit with that. It's actually focusing upon a perspective of a perfect, stable, three-dimensional world within a larger world of changes. This is the region where it remains stable. So, and in communication you can find out what you need to do for, and what are the adaptations in time that you need to change and be suggestive to. So basically the first three dimensions and the letters that fit with that are simply defining the working elements. It's going from 0 to 1, so it's defining the position, it's defining the element, it's defining the one. It has its only follows its own gravity to form itself, to be itself, to find its position, and that's its centralized balance that it finds there. Of course, during changes, it is best that you also deal with how these changes can be adopted well, so that these changes interfere and have a good communication with everything that happens, so that you also have a stability during the changes that also occur. And that's the different perspective, and it gives you a different calculation. You have one position, so you have the definition of one, what you want, what you need, the rhythm that you have your own visions, you have your own objective, but it also needs a balance. Here the 0 point is a different perspective. It gives you an extra calculation to calculate where the 0 point is giving you a new stability. So you're focusing upon balancing out the ones, all the ones that are there, all the objects that are there. There is a balance between them. You have to find the focus, so that you can find a temporal stability in time. So that's all the perspectives that are guiding you into the direction of that kind of balance, and the letters that direct you into that sort of stability are different letters and are also of a more complex nature. They're not only about how things are formed on its own, they are about things, how they communicate, how they form together, how they are interacting, and so on. It's the temporal gravity is added there as well. And the last perspective is actually that every person, every perspective has a whole range of possibilities, and that they don't always cooperate well together, but they also exist, and they also can do proper things. But in communication, it's not always easy to find your perspective in that. So how does that work? In the last complexity, in the last perspective, we simply say, okay, what does work in general? What are the factors that exist in general? So we need an extra element of calculation, which is the infinite. So it works everywhere, it works from every perspective. We have a new 0 point, which is a general viewpoint, and it is a general seeking balance, not just between two persons, between two visions. It's simply what is seeking balance, and it gives a different calculation. We now define the things, what they can be used for in general, and this is very different from the temporal balance or your own balance. This is an extra level, and we have extra letters to use it for, to direct you in that direction, that you have to deal with that element. And what's the difference in words? I'll give you an example of this, because the perspective is different in these three regions. First region is only about the objects themselves. You go to one point and try to find the object itself, try to have your focus on the object, and that's actually it. So that's the physical reference point that you have. Second region is about the usage of what you do. What can you do with it? What can you do with it directly? How can you use it in a way that you can use it for something that has a purpose, that it has a good interaction, and it gives you a temporal position that you can use, and try to find the balance in it, that you can find the good point of where you can use it without that it's breaking out of balance. So you find a 0 point of where you balance the things out in communication. So we will try to show you the difference between a temporal usage and a general usage. Temporal usage is between two different opinions, two different people, what we now use, and we want to use it now in a way that it is practical. And I will use for it, the letters, or some of the letters that I have there in that second level, and I will use a letter from each level, P, E, and N. I have the word pen. So how does this pen look like? Just imagine that I want to use it for my purpose. Even then, the one has to find its general point or its contemporary point where it will work for both parties, that it will be understood. So I have the one, my vision, and the 0 point, where what I can use in communication. So I have pen. The P is pressed out of the process. It's pressed out for me. The A, it's worked out. It's stretched. I have it. And then the N, there's a content. This content is not simply for me. It's not simply for the one alone. No, I have to find a balance. That's the different calculation with these letters. They also have to find a 0 point of the balance. So this content has to be poured in the position of 0. And what does this position means? It's the position meant to communicate well, so that it will have an interaction, so that the interactions work well, so that everything which is pressed out a situation, which is worked out, the content which is put into it, is also in a communication, poured in a communication. So the pen is used to express exactly this communication process as well. That's how you can understand the letters. That's how the letters are direct you into this balance. This balance is different than a purely physical balance, as in the three-dimensional world. Here we also have the temporal vision, the communicative vision, that we have a person that acts with it, takes the pen, but it's used in the contemporary, in the temporal vision, to use it for communication, that we can describe with it what works, what does not work. That's where the pen is used for. Different will it be in the third region. So I will use the third region now. The third region, as you can see, it will be different, because this 0 point is the general vision. It's the general vision, what you can use it for everybody, from not just in one communication, but everywhere it should be used there. So how shall I use the pen there? I have to use a different letter. It's a letter of one of these letters that fits with the last category. So I will change the word pen into pin. So what will be the difference to a local or temporal perspective? Here I will create a general perspective. So the E, I will have not follow the A, but I will follow the E. The E will find a way to in balance to the general 0 point in infinite directions, but I have a middle point. I will pinpoint my view, and I will have to adapt wherever I am in the system, wherever I am in the communication. It doesn't matter. I have to adapt to that direction. That's the direction that works. That's my pin in that at that moment. That's how you have to understand the directions of letters, language, based upon the vision and structure of 3 dimensions of space, 3 dimensions of time, and 3 dimensions of reorganization towards what is at the last category of dimensions of directions. In the complexity, you get to that to that point where you have to use it for that purpose as well, to get back to your balance. So once more, there I will explain the three categories of letters, three regions. The first region was that's a very objective, direct and physical, because it's defining its position of one. The second one, the second region with all the letters that you can see there, is about temporal balance. They're all used to go to that focus, and the last couple of letters will bring you back to a general perspective that you can use everywhere. It's not that it's an idea that you should use certain letters from a certain region all the time. That you could think, okay, maybe it's a good idea to use general perspective all the time. Then no, sometimes we are talking about something that we have to use now this moment alone. So how do we have to do that? How do we come to a balance in our temporal moment? We need these letters as well. Just like a definition, sometimes we need to define the things that we are using a bit more, and that's where you need the first region for it to describe these things. And the letters actually are a way to stimulate you to think in that direction. In a way, they are very simple directions. Even in this perspective, there is something simple in it. The complex, no matter how complex the background is, in a way it is also very simple. They show you like it's like a suggestion, and please go that way. I have to redefine what I have here, so use the first region. I have to redefine my definition, how I work with you, how I cooperate, or I just have to redefine what really is here in general, what I can use anywhere. These regions of directions are directions that are needed to build up our language, to build up, and they are building blocks from the letters themselves. I hope you enjoyed. This was Gerald Johan van Was. There's a website too with a list of words, and the theory videos are there as well. Thank you very much. Bye bye.